Good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the night. This is Michelle Williams, your Survey123 Jedi. Welcome, Padawan. I'm glad you're here. So today what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a tour of Survey123 Connect to get you warm to the idea of what we do next. So I'm assuming you have the software put on your computer, and I'm going to share my screen. So mine, in the sys tray down at the bottom, I have Survey123 Connect, which has a little black icon next to it. And then I have the same, it looks like the same icon, and it doesn't have the black pencil. The black pencil is because that's where you're creating. So we're going to open up Survey123 Connect. And as it opens, this is what mine looks like. Sorry, don't be too scared. There's a lot on here. A lot of it is just me repurposing something or teaching a class. So you'll notice a lot of the same icons with different dates. That's what we do here. So just look at the top header, and we're going to kind of just walk through everything. So this top button here is how you're going to tell the computer that you need a new survey, and it's going to ask you a bunch of questions. We'll get to that in just a second. Up here at the top, we have my survey designs, my add-in projects. I don't have any of those. Tutorials. This is going to drop you into Esri's Resource Center, and it's going to have information for you. And then the community. I'm not sure exactly where the community is. I'm thinking it's probably the community at the Esri Survey123 community. So now that you know where all of that is, I'm going to click on my survey design, and we're just going to walk through what a new survey would look like. So if you click on that, you're going to name it something first. And then looking at the left-hand side, you have, if you wanted Survey123 to create a blank survey for you, which is what we're going to do today, you would use that button. If you wanted to go pull a file and create a new survey, this is where you would do that. We'll do that next week. If you wanted to pull a feature service so that you can start with the service you already have and then just start adding data to it, that's where you're going to go for that. Esri also gives us some templates and some samples. What's the difference? Templates those are industry specific, and you can start there. Something fun I did about 3 versions back, it was December and I was out of billable hours. So for training myself, I went through every single one of these, pulled out all the cool code that I'd never seen before, and I added that to my toolbox. So I have a toolbox, and I will show you that probably closer to the end of our time together, just so that you can see it, because once you start figuring out what cool code to add to surveys, you're going to want your own toolbox. And I'm going to teach you how to do that along the way. Samples are specifically to the Survey123. These are all pieces of Survey123, and a lot of people had questions. So Esri just put something together for you. Keep in mind, I'm going to show you appearances and where that shows up in Survey123, so that you can link the two together. And then if you wanted to come look at the appearances, what that would do is it would build an appearance Survey123 for you. And you can go in and look at that, because you're going to need to come up here. You're going to put, type in appearance, and then it will create its own Survey123, and it's going to give you all kinds of information just on appearances. You'll love it. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go into blank. I'm going to do blank, blank form. And because I've done this twice already, we're going to do Rev 3. We do a lot of recording videos here. And then I always do advanced template. I don't know what the difference is, but advanced probably has more features, so I always do that one. Now, while it's working, it's actually putting a couple files together for us that tells the software how to work. So the way that I like to set up my Survey123s is just like this. So it's side by side. Now everybody can see everything. I don't have one on one screen and my spreadsheet on the other. Some people do, and that's okay. But for you to be able to visualize everything in one screen, it's much easier this way. So I'm going to just take you through what all these little pieces are. So right here, that's top one. That's if you need to open up your spreadsheet. The next time you open up Survey123 for this one, it's not going to open up the spreadsheet. So they give that little icon to you so that you can use it. The update icon, that is for handshaking. So eventually you're going to start adding items to your media folder. And when that happens, so that you don't have to shut down your whole software and bring it back up so that there's a handshaking, you just hit that update button and it does it for you. Inside folders, this is where the magic happens. These are all the files that Esri creates for you so that when you publish everything, it just knows what to do. The media folder is given to you. There's nothing in it right now, but it's a great place to put things eventually. Sometime in the future, you're going to want a thumbnail, and that's going to be like a logo for your Survey123. And they give you a little template right here. So if you double click that, that's the template size for your thumbnail. And you can actually drag that into a photo software and then manipulate it that way. I use Photoshop, so I took that PNG, I put it into Photoshop. I knew exactly what my calculations were, and then I could, put logos and text and things like that. The next one down is the tools. The only one I've used so far is this update templates. And that's if you have a really old template and you need to update it so that, if your something breaks, and this might be the fix, it might just need to be updated. I know we had a 314, we are on 320 right now. 314, and it was breaking as soon as 320 came out. So we updated the Survey123, and then it started working. So just kind of keep in mind your end users are probably auto updating with Survey123, especially if they have iPads. Most of those auto update when the newest Survey123s come out. And if you are using 314 or it was built on 314, there's going to be a disconnect eventually. So that's when you want to make sure that you update your forms. How do you find out what version you're on? That is a great question. So down here on the spreadsheet, there's a purple tab called version. And if you click on that, it'll tell you what version it was built on. We just built this one, so 320 is accurate. But we do have older versions, and we want to make sure that we update those along the way. All right, so we're getting back over here. So the publish button is once you get to a really good place, you want to publish. My best knowledge, the best thing I can tell you is get it in camera. And the reason I say that is my husband's a photographer, so we were photographers for 13 years. And people would come in and say, "Can you just Photoshop it?" And we'd always look at each other and we need to get that in camera. I don't want to do that Photoshop work. Survey123 is a lot similar to that. You don't want to bandage over bandage over bandage because things get crazy when you do that, especially if you start having third-party apps that are connected to it. So do the very best you can. And if you can get somebody to keep work and say, "Hey, can you help me with this?" They're going to give you some guidance that's going to just exponentially help you out. So down here at the bottom, we have forms, and that's what you're looking at. That's your GUI area. When you click on details, I'm going to make this a little further so you can see the text. When you click on details, that's where you're going to be able to click on the thumbnail and put a new thumbnail in there. You can change your title here, add your summary and your description. This is going to show up on the home screen when your end users are using your product. And I like to put in the description my phone number. You might want to put your work phone number if you only want them calling you at work. I work different hours, so I always put my cell phone number also. so that they can get a hold of me. Luckily, it hasn't happened very often. Once in a while, somebody will get in there. I can't submit my information or something, and it's probably because they didn't have a username that was shared. So that's an easy fix. And then down in options, I always turn on my require updates. And that's because I want my end users to know there's an update, and I want them to update right whenever I create something. And that's because if I've updated it and they're not using the current software, then what good is it to update? So kind of keep in mind, if there's a reason you don't want them to update, if you want to tell them when you want them to update, maybe that's an option that you need to have. Keep that in mind. There are always those one-offs that need special care. I also always turn off my sent box because I do a lot of repeats, and repeats are going to go into the inbox. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, watch this video when we're done with our 6 weeks, because you'll understand a lot more of this. When I turn on my inbox, there's a lot of options that go on, but there's this red text. And if you have sent open or the option is on and your inbox, it's going to give you more errors. Because if somebody has some information in their sent box and they're trying to grab that same record in their inbox, it won't come in. So I always turn off my sent box because I don't want that happening. I've seen it happen a lot, and people are so crazy. They're all, I don't know what to do. And I look at their information and I'm all, well, you have your sent box and your inbox open. Are you using the inbox? And they're all, yeah. And I'm all, well, you probably need to turn off your sent box because they probably sent the same record that they're trying to retrieve, and you can't do that. So they have to delete everything from their sent box, and then they can pull that record back down. So it's just too confusing. So if you just turn, unless you have a good reason for that sent box to be off or to be on, call me. I'd love to hear it. I've only had one person who had a really good reason for that, and I was impressed. I mean, it was a really good reason. Okay, so coming over to maps, you want to set your end users up with the best map that they probably would use most of the time. So you can come in here and, put them whatever map that is, and then just know that they have the option to come in here and change the map. So maybe for them, maybe topology might be better. Maybe they need to see how steep the hills are before they make that trek. And then media. So when you start putting media in there, that's going to show up here. Linked content. Once you publish this the first time, it's going to link your map that it makes when it makes its hosted service up in the cloud. And so that will be linked here. You have a place for scripts, your schema, and then these two databases. I don't use any of those right now. So we'll just let it go at that. Going back to forms. Now let's go down this side over here. What you're looking at here, this first top part, that's going to be for the size of your monitor that you want to use. We use a lot of iPads, so you can do iPad landscape or portrait. Just know that if your end users are using their iPads and you make them landscape, then they take their picture with their camera is right there at the top. So they hold it and they don't have to do this all day. Because if you set your tablet up as portrait and they need to take a picture, and then they have to go like this. Anyways, keep that in mind. One of my end users told me that a long time ago, and I've always made them landscape because it just makes a whole lot more sense. All right. This is where you're going to change colors. This is a lot of fun. I usually, my first version, I always leave it green unless it's a client color, and I might change it to whatever their client color is. You can come in here, click on the little palette, and that's going to change it for you. So this one's the text color. And maybe I want something really ugly. Hopefully that's not your colors. It could be pretty. I'm sorry. Then there's information. I don't use that ever. I've never used that. And then the refresh button. So now that we've gotten through the GUI, I hope you feel pretty good about that. There's not a whole lot that you have to know. Those are a few things that you should know and take precautions with, which is, that inbox thing. But besides that, I'm going to show you over here on the spreadsheet. So you're going to notice 3 green tabs at the bottom. That's going to be, that's specifically what the computer is looking for when you build your Survey123. The purple ones are for us. Those are just information that we can use to make our surveys better. So in the survey tab, the first 3 columns are your most important. And I want to share with you, the names are a little different than you're going to see in AGL. So you'll see the labels, that's your alias that you're familiar with. And then the name field is the field name. And they're not the same, so they're a little bit more confusing, but you'll get used to it. And hopefully they won't cause you too much pain. So label is what the end user is going to see. Example text question, example, select one question. Really easy. The name field, that's the computer language. So there's no spaces and no symbols. You can use an underscore in your text field. And I believe you can't start your field with a number. We can test that out. Let's see. Yep. I don't think that's going to work for us. So don't don't start it with a number 2 or any numbers. Type that tells the computer what this is. Is it a text? Is it a drop down? Is it, select one? Is it select multiple? Is it decimal? Whatever that looks like. That just tells the computer what it is. Choices, this is where your domains go. So you'll notice that there's a yes, no here. That's the category. So if you come back over here, yes, no is right here. So it's a select one from that choice. And so that's what you're seeing here is that yes, no question. When you get to choices, there's one thing I would fix, and that is I'd copy this capital to the name field also, so that they're both exactly the same. Because there are certain instances you need the capital one, and there's the other instances that you're going to need where it was the lowercase one. But if they're both exactly the same, you don't have to do that mental gymnastics. Settings, this is where you're going to do your title. So if I change this name right here to name and say save, it's going to change that at the top. And this is what the end user is going to see. This very top one where it has the name of the file, that's only what I'm going to see. Actually, let me back up. The end user is going to see that when they click on it to get in here. So make sure that's a good name also. I'm going to leave all the rest. I'm not going to talk about those right now, only because you don't need them right now. We'll get to them in a couple weeks. So I'm going to go back to the survey and I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what's going on the far side. There are a few things that I like to do when I start, and I like to have appearance. I like to make that one green. I like to make default and calculation green. And there's one way down here, it's view, and I like to make that one green. And the reason is we like patterns. That's why we're in mapping. And if you know what to look for on those fields that you use all the time, it's much easier just to go click, 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 click. Okay, I needed to go to calculation. I needed, 2 greens. So there it is. There are a couple other things that I like to do, but for today, I'm just going to go through and show you some of the fields that I like to use and what they are. So hint is when you're telling your end user what to do. I like to, we like to ask questions in the label. Well, in the hint, you want to tell them what to do. So if you're saying take a photo in, your label field, you want to guide them with the hint to tell them take it horizontally in the app, or whatever that looks like. Oh, and you might want to say with a long-standing piece of infrastructure so you can get the same picture the next time, whatever that looks like. We've dialed those in along the way. Guidance hint, that is like the additional hint if they need more information. I don't use that, so you might. I hope you get a chance to, but I don't. Appearance, that is going to be, remember I told you in the beginning where that appearance sample was? That's where this is going to go. So you'll notice there's a drop-down menu. What's great is that drop-down menu will change depending on what type it is. So right now it's a text field. Select one is a text field. It's just a different type of text field. If it was an integer, let's see, if it's an integer, now the drop-down menu changes to integer type things. So it's kind of fun that they took that time and put that together for us. It makes it a lot easier. You'll notice that appearance is also down here in the purple. Appearance, these are all the different types of appearances that you can do. I noticed that I skipped this question type. So question type here, these are like your geotrace, your integer, your text. That's what we were just talking about as far as types. That's where you're going to find those question types. Makes it really easy. And then coming down here, required, you'll notice there's a drop-down menu and you can say yes. If you put a capital yes in there, it doesn't work. So use the drop-down menu until you remember that it's not, that you don't need to use the capital. Read only, you can put yes here also, and that's going to make sure that if you have calculations or something and you don't want people to touch them, that you're going to use it there. Then your default, you might have like a phase 1, and that's where they should be right now. So maybe you have phase 1 as your default, and then they can change that to phase 2 as they start having that crossover, and then you can change that default to phase 2 when you're mostly in the phase 2 phase. So there's a lot more that you can put in there. Just kind of know that's what that's for. Calculation. These are your calculations, that all your formulas, that's what those are going to go right there. I'm going to pass a few of these because we don't need them at the moment. Media image, that's if you want to put an image at the very top of your survey. It might be the logo of the company, or you might have a note that you want on your survey all the time. That's where you would put that. Field lengths. So if you have a yes/no question, your longest field is going to be 3, because yes is 3 characters long. If you don't fill these out, they're 255 characters, and whether or not you use them, you use 255 characters. So just remember, if you've got 50 questions and you have 250 characters, every single record is going to be that long. And so whatever you can do to make that more gentle is a good thing. Field alias, yeah, we're not going to worry about any of those right now. Input mask, we're going to actually get to that next week because we're going to do phone numbers. I think we're also going to do zip codes. So input mask is going to be one that we'll get to learn. And I believe that's all we have. Yeah, we made it through those. Perfect. Okay, so let's go back down here. So I haven't finished with the purples yet. Field types, Esri puts these in for us, so I don't touch them. I don't touch these either because for the most part, if you put a text field, it's going to be a string. Date and time, if you put the type as a date and time, it's automatically going to fill those in for you. All right, down to references. Things that I use. I use this now for dates and times. That's great when you're doing the inspection date and time because you don't want your end user to have to auto-populate that every single time, especially if they're doing 50 reports in one day. Just put it in there for them. It's going to be now. It's today. It's going to be a good thing. Um, Scrolling down, I also use some of these HTML tags when in the label field because I want to be able to make text bold, or I want to make it colored blue, or whatever that looks like. Those are a lot of fun. Reserved. Now this is going to be all these words here are words that you cannot use. Let me show you. Absolute. If you go into your survey, remember I told you about the name field being the one that the computer reads. If you put absolute in here, you'll notice the green flag there. That means that there's an error going on. And that's because the computer will get confused if you use the same text. So if you really want to use absolute, you can put an underscore there or make it sentence case. It also works that way. If it's all uppercase and that's what Esri uses, then we can't use it. I hope you feel more comfortable about Survey123. Next week, we're going to do our first survey. It's going to be the family address book, and you're going to be able to publish that and get your family to take those for you as a sample so that you'll be able to see and feel what Survey123 can do. Thank you for liking and subscribing our channel. We drop trainings in here all the time, and I want you to be the first one to be able to see them. At some point during your journey in Survey123, you might need a co-pilot or a room full of co-pilots. We have that for you. We have a coaching call that we do once a week for the price of a few tacos. And we meet up to answer each other's questions. I knew that I didn't have all the answers. Survey123 is a big universe. So what I did is I brought people together, and our community is growing. So whether you're watching this late in 2024 or in 2025, just know that we're growing. And life is better with friends. So get involved with folks who are like-minded, and some of them are going to have more experience than you, and some of them might have less experience. So we help those who need it, and we glean from those who have the knowledge. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you on the other side.